Hello everybody, this is Coach Juan. In today's video we're going to be talking about shooting. Let's go ahead and break down the shooting fundamentals into 4 parts. Part 1, our supporting leg. Part 2, our striking foot. Part 3, the follow through. And finally, Part 4, our upper body motion. Alright, when it comes to our supporting leg, there's a few details we're going to want to keep in mind. First, we're going to want to put our plant foot next to the soccer ball. Just like when we're passing, this is going to help us keep our balance, prevent us from lunging to make contact, and typically generate a good shot. A lot of mistakes can be avoided by making sure our foot is planted correctly next to the ball. Next, we want to make sure to have some space between our plant foot and the soccer ball. As we're striking through the ball, we're going to have our toes pointed out, and we want to avoid hitting the ground, and having that little bit of space is going to help us do that. Next, whichever direction we point our plant foot or our supporting leg is typically the direction the ball's going to head, assuming we hit it correctly. And finally, we're going to want to have some more balance here by bending our knee just a bit so we can generate the most power and not fall down. Go ahead and take a look at a few videos here. The first video, we're going to see how the player changes directions, and then if you notice, doesn't touch the ball until she shoots. So what I want us to focus on is how she measures her steps, takes us a few small steps, making sure that her plant foot gets placed correctly. Let's take a look. In that last video, we saw how the player shooting pushed the ball forward and had to make an effort to keep up and make sure that she had her plant foot placed correctly. One way to make this easier is to work as a team. In this next video, we'll see how one of the teammates passes the ball back towards the shooter, making it much easier to gauge where to put your plant foot since you're not trying to keep up with the ball. This is a great way to create shooting opportunities for your team with this layoff pass followed by a shot with the first touch. Let's take a look. Another thing we can do to help us correctly place our supporting leg is to, once again, control, look, and decide. In this next play, we'll see that the attacker has plenty of space and room to decide to take a shot. When she does, she has already stopped the ball, then slightly moves the ball forward so that she can step into her shot, and then, as we can see in this picture, places her supporting leg correctly. Let's go ahead and see how she finishes the shot. Let's move on and let's talk about our striking foot and the striking leg. Here there's also some details that we're going to want to keep in mind as we're shooting. First, if we planted our supporting leg correctly, our striking leg's knee should be over the ball. Next, now this is probably one of the most important points. As we're striking through the ball with our foot, we want to make sure that our ankle stays locked with our toes pointing away. What that means is, as we're making contact through the ball, that our striking foot doesn't return back to its regular position with a relaxed ankle. We want to make sure that our ankle stays fixed with our toes pointing away as we're striking through the ball in order to maintain the height of the shot low and on target. Next, let's talk about what part of the foot we're going to want to strike the ball with. Now, if you feel around your foot, you'll find that the hardest part is going to be the bone that goes from your ankle towards your big toe. And if you were to look at your shoe, this would typically be on your right foot, respectively. This would be the left eyelets where your laces go through the holes. That's where that big bone is typically located. And so when we're making taking our shot, we're going to need to turn our foot just slightly so that that's the contact point with the ball. So it's different from a pass where we're using the inside part of our foot. In this shot, we're turning our foot slightly so that we can show the laces, and we're making contact with that hard part of our foot. Let's take a look at a few more clips. This first one's going to be a direct kick. So the referee is going to allow the striker to take a shot, and the defense is allowed to make a wall with the players. Let's really focus on the striking foot here in these next two shots, and let's see if we can watch as the striker has the foot locked with the toes pointing away. Let's move on and talk about our follow through. This is also where we can talk about the strength of our shot. Players might assume that the player with the biggest thighs or legs, the strongest, most muscular legs, are going to generate the strongest shots. And this is not necessarily true. The majority of our strength when it comes to shooting comes from our technique, and in particular here our follow through. So what I want us to focus on is landing with our shooting leg. Okay, so players that have a lot of velocity as they approach the soccer ball are usually going to propel themselves forward after the shot, and they land with that shooting leg. So in order for us to transfer all that mass and velocity, we need to be able to land forward with our shooting leg after we have struck the ball. In the next few examples, they will really depict how players will land with their shooting leg. So we want to see what happens not only as they shoot the ball, but how they land after they finish shooting. This is the best way to transfer all of our weight, all of our energy into our shots, whether you're a small or a large person. This is what's going to make the difference in the power of our shot. Now, I don't want to spend too much time talking about the power of our shots or how to generate the most power, and that's because I believe when it comes to shooting, it's one of the least important aspects of generating a good shot. If we focus on our balance, the contact with our striking foot, making sure to hit it with the hardest part of our foot, this will typically be enough to generate a well-paced shot, and typically with more accuracy. When we focus on power, we sacrifice accuracy at times, and it tends to have a big wind-up. The leg comes back, people can anticipate it, goalkeepers can typically see it coming, unless it comes out with enough force and accuracy. So, once again, this is for those, just a little bit of extra information. If you guys really want to crank a ball, focus on your follow through, but once again, it's not the most important part of shooting. We'd rather focus on accuracy and getting a shot on frame, on goal, as opposed to hitting a ball really hard and out of bounds. Finally, let's talk about our upper body motion. Essentially, what do we do with our hands? What do we do with our arms? And how does it work in sync with our lower body? If I was taking a shot with my right foot, we'd want to have our left arm out and extended, and this is what provides a bit of balance as well. So when you're getting ready to shoot, stick out that left arm and kind of help yourself orient your weight around so that you don't lose your balance. And this happens as you're going about planning your supporting leg. In a lot of the examples before, we see this arm stick out, and as we get ready to shoot, we also notice that our chest, our upper body isn't leaning back too far. If anything, we want our chest over the ball, just like our knee. We want to be able to lean forward and help us transfer that weight towards our shot. When we lean back, the shot can sometimes come out high, kind of like a long cross, and especially if we hit the ball towards the bottom. But if we're leaning forward, our ball can stay lower to the ground or at least within goal. Now, we began talking about using that left arm for balance. As we're finishing our shot, we'll see that that arm comes back down and across our body, kind of like a counter motion to our leg going forward. So if as we're shooting and our leg is going forward, we're going to want to bring that left arm down and across our body. We don't have to concentrate about it. We don't have to concentrate on it too hard, as we'll naturally do this to some extent. But it is something that we should be aware of, that if we really want to generate a good snap, we're going to want to bring that left arm down as well, just as much as we're bringing that right foot forward. And we'll take a look here at some of these shots and see if we can get a good example of what to do with our upper body. Well, that's our shooting video for today. I hope you guys found it informative. One thing I really wanted to point out is during the game, we don't have all the time to go down through our shooting fundamental checklist and make sure that we're doing them all. It's a little bit more reactionary than that. But what I want us to notice that even in the previous examples throughout the video, not every shot had each fundamental completely locked down. And so that's why practice is important. The more we practice our fundamentals when we have an easy setting, calm setting, when it comes to game time, even if we don't hit each single fundamental, the shot can still come out fairly decent and help our team score goals. Now, shooting is one of those skill sets that's tough to master. I'm constantly still trying to improve on my shooting fundamentals. It's not my strongest skill set. I personally prefer to pass the ball around and move off the ball and beat teams so that we can get nice and easy tap-ins that we can repeat. But I got to admit, there's very few feelings in the game of soccer that match that of shooting a well-placed goal with some power. So I think you guys will have a lot of fun working on this, and look forward to seeing everybody at the next practice. Thank you for watching.